Now let's look at the world's other major war, the war in Ukraine. That war too has seen its share of crimes. Among the biggest ones was this, an attack on the Nord Stream gas pipelines. This happened last September, and it crippled Europe's energy supplies. You see, the Nord Stream pipelines connect Russia to Germany. They run beneath the Baltic Sea. Before the war, they were crucial to Europe's energy security. But last September, there were underwater explosions. They took out 3 of the 4 pipes and cut off Europe from cheap Russian gas. Both NATO and Russia called it an act of sabotage. No group claimed responsibility for the attack. All sides pointed fingers at each other. And now a new theory, a new report has come out. It blames a Ukrainian soldier for the explosions, a colonel who has worked with Ukraine's special forces. His name is Roman Chervinsky. Our next report has the details.
On September 26, 2022, at about 2 a.m., off the coast of Denmark's Bornholm Island, an explosion changed the face of the war in Ukraine. That explosion was followed by another about 17 hours later. The result was that Europe suddenly had nothing to lose. The undersea explosions ruptured the Nord Stream pipelines that were used to transport natural gas from Russia to Europe. On September 26th, the same natural gas began leaking, rising through the sea and escaping into the atmosphere. Who was behind this act of sabotage? A new investigation has put this name forward: Roman Chervinsky. On Saturday, media reports pointed the finger at this man, a former Ukrainian intelligence officer and a critic of Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. Chervinsky is currently in pre-trial detention over a different case. He faces 12 years in prison for allegedly overstepping his authority. And now, the Nord Stream blasts are also being blamed on this agent. His supporters say he's being set up, that someone high up wants him out of the way. The new Nord Stream blast accusation would definitely put a target on Chervinsky's back, because a lot was tied to the pipelines. You see, the Nord Stream was an economic link connecting Western Russia to Germany. Russia made money selling natural gas to Europe, and Europe had a steady supply of a cheap fossil fuel. Both parties benefited, but these Nord Stream pipelines also created a dependency. Europe was beholden to Russia for cheap energy, and Russia had been tweaking the gas output since its war in Ukraine began. This had the potential to affect European sentiment, perhaps lower public support for Ukraine. After all, no one cares about a neighbor when they're freezing in winter. But suddenly, this problem vanished, or should we say, blew up. Which begs the question, who was behind the attack? Who had the most to gain? When the attack took place, everyone picked sides. The West blamed Russia, saying Moscow wanted to cripple Europe. But if Moscow was using the Nord Stream as leverage, why would it destroy the pipeline? Russia blamed the West, specifically the US. It said the US wanted to end Europe's dependency on Russian gas. So, Washington blew up Moscow's leverage. This may sound more logical, but there was no real proof. There still isn't. But now, with Chervinsky, we have a new suspect. The media reports cite unnamed sources, both in Europe and Ukraine. The sources describe Chervinsky as the attack's coordinator. He handled logistics for the sabotage crew, getting them a boat and deep-sea diving equipment. The crew then allegedly sailed into the Baltic and planted explosives on the pipelines. And the reports say Chervinsky did not act alone. Someone else planned the attack. He apparently got his orders from senior officers under General Valery Zaluzny, the commander-in-chief of the Ukrainian armed forces. So does this mean Ukraine conducted the attack? Well, there's still no conclusive proof. And another detail complicates things further. Reports say Ukraine's president was kept out of the loop, that he was unaware of the plan. That means if Ukraine did conduct it, the Nord Stream attack was a rogue operation. So the plot thickens. Russia has called it alarming that Zelensky was unaware of the plan. It wants more names of those involved. But what action will Moscow take on Chervinsky and his crew and on the higher-ups? We'll have to wait and see.